my name is Zoe. I'm the Tipsy Psychic, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to develop your psychic abilities. There's a lot of different information out there floating around on psychic development, and the truth is I disagree with almost all of it. There's a lot, of course, that I do agree with and I do abide by, but today I'm going to share with you my thoughts and my experiences with psychic development. So as someone who does psychic readings for a living and loves to read people and is a professional psychic, I have a lot to say on this topic. My first piece of guidance is stop expecting a psychic awakening. You don't need to wake up to be psychic. Everyone is already psychic. Everyone has the capacity to read people, to be intuitive, to develop their gifts further, and to become much more in tune with their psychic gifts and abilities. But it doesn't always happen overnight, and that's okay. There's this idea going around that you have to wake up. There has to be this psychic awakening, that there has to be this shift in your mindset or in your consciousness. I hear a lot of light workers talk about this global awakening where everyone's going to wake up, or a lot of people are going to wake up from being asleep. And the truth is, we're not asleep. It just doesn't work like that. I feel like people are expecting this overnight type of thing to happen where you kind of just start suddenly waking up and seeing visions or something. I don't know. But there are a lot of things going on right now where I'm seeing that thrown around, this awakening. Your psychic abilities will manifest in so many different ways, and it's so rare for it to just switch on one day. So the sooner you stop expecting that to happen, the better. Because in a way, you're limiting yourself from what could be if you're just sort of waiting for this outcome. It takes practice to give great psychic readings and to really own your gift. It rarely happens overnight. And when it does happen, it's usually not in the way you expect. This idea of a higher consciousness is very new agey. It's part of the new age movement. And it's actually not a very healthy dialogue to have in your mind, because it implies that there is a spiritual hierarchy, which is the opposite of spirituality. Spirituality is not about levels. That's a new age thing. A spiritual hierarchy really implies that some of us are on a higher level spiritually, but you can be on any level and be a psychic. And a lot of these new age gurus might not agree with me on this because, I've heard a lot of different things. You can be a psychic on any level. You don't have to be this super enlightened being. You don't have to be this vessel of light and love and accept only healthy things into your body in order to be a psychic. Yeah, it's nice to be healthy. You can tune into your abilities anytime. And this can trigger some spiritual gurus who really, really value meditation and, spiritual enlightenment and that kind of hierarchy. But the truth is, you don't have to be at that point. When I first started reading, I was a kid, and I was in no way evolved and enlightened, and I didn't know half the things that I know now, but I still did it. And then there are times when I've been really, really, really just in a funk. I've been in the worst place in my life. I've hit rock bottom, yet for some reason, I've still been able to tap into my psychic intuition. There were times when I was in college and I was drinking all the time and I had hangovers the next day, but I would still do psychic readings. And I was still just as psychic. In fact, I might argue at times I felt more psychic than I do now. And that wasn't because I was high off of something, but that was just because I really didn't put myself above anything. There was no wake up for me. It was just a fact, a truth about me. You don't have to wait to reach a certain level of enlightenment or spirituality or be gifted enough. You can be the lowest of the lowest in your life and still be very psychic. So I just want to debunk that right now. If you're waiting for these signs, or if you're waiting for your gifts to awaken, they can definitely grow and they can definitely expand, but you don't need to wake up in order to achieve anything. Your gifts will manifest in so many different ways, and it's really going to be up to you to see how you do it. But you can't wait around for a Kundalini awakening, or for your third eye chakra to wake up, or to decalcify your pineal gland or whatever. You have to be able to just be in the now and embrace the now and enjoy things and live and practice. Because the more you practice, that's how you're gonna grow. That's how you're gonna wake up, or whatever you wanna call it. Number 2, take a break from studying. The more you know, the harder it can be to rely on your psychic intuition. And this applies to almost all psychics out there. Psychic abilities are raw. The more you read, the more you study, the more you start to tune out what your psychic intuition is telling you in favor of what those books have been telling you, what those things that you've been learning. And what happens is you don't really need those books at all to know anything. I mean, with cards, for example, with tarot cards, you want to know the basic meanings of the cards. That's fine. Because you're using two sources of information. You're using what the books are telling you, and you're using what your intuition is telling you. And your intuition should always come first. So what I always advise people to do, and this is what I did for a very long time, and it really helped me, it was just to learn the basics. The basics. So if you're learning runes, learn 26 basic meanings and then stop. Just learn the basics and then stop. And then let things work for you. Let your intuition take over. Because there are so many different ways to read something. And everybody who writes a book on a topic, like if you're writing a book on palm reading, that's just that person's interpretation. You have to remember that you're just going by what they are. They are not writing truths. If you relate to it, great. But it's really up to you to create your own book, mental book, if that makes any sense. People used to ask me where I got my information from a lot, you know, when I was doing readings, and I would always tell them, I don't really read a lot of books, you know? I could buy tons of books, I think they're really cool, but they tend to meld with my intuition. And it's hard if you're learning just to trust your intuition when you have that voice coming from the books and the teachers and all these other people. It's really difficult to listen to your intuition on top of that. So I've seen so many psychics devour every single YouTube video. I've seen them devour different books, different programs, and different classes and workshops. And it's like they really want to learn everything they can, which is really admirable. And they're really excited about it. But in doing so, they also don't lean on themselves enough. They lean a lot on the material. My advice is to stop. Stop reading anything. Stop trying to learn more. Start actually listening to your gifts. Start tuning into them. Let the words come to you without thinking about what you read in a book or what that card was supposed to be about. It's one of the reasons I have a hard time talking about other things that I do on this channel, like palm reading. I'm afraid that if I talk too much about palm reading, I'm going to be that book for you guys. And the truth is, I read very differently than I think a lot of other people do, because I haven't read a lot of books on it. But what I do works. And it works because it comes from me. It comes from my intuition. Number 3, stop meditating all the time if that doesn't help you. So the spiritual community is always shoving meditation down our throats. And you know, I love meditating. I think it's beautiful. I think if you have the right way to do it that works for you, it's fabulous. I think there's so many different ways to meditate. Some are more effective, some aren't. And I made a video about how I was experiencing side effects from meditation. I just don't think it works for everyone. Most of my career as a psychic, I actually did not meditate. It wasn't until a few years ago that I actually started exploring meditation and exploring the side effects that I was having when I explored that. But the truth is, I was working as a psychic without meditating. You don't have to meditate. There are so many different ways to tap into your gifts. Just make sure that you don't just turn to meditation every single time, because I don't know if that's the most effective way for you. Number 4, when you look up how to develop your psychic intuition, there are so many books that will come up, and they all have these exercises inside them. Different techniques like visualization techniques, grounding techniques. I have seen different like brainwave techniques, different meditation practices, and everybody seems to have these really specific step-by-step exercises that can help you tap into your sixth sense, right? And I don't believe in that. Maybe some of these things might help you, maybe not. But the truth is, I don't believe that there are exercises that can really help us. I think there are some visualization techniques, I've even mentioned them on this channel, that could be helpful. But I don't think that just turning to these exercises is going to be the answer for you. I think that everybody has a different path, everybody has a different gift, and how they tap into it will really vary. So we can't just apply different things. If something feels so difficult and too hard, then it's probably not the right thing, because it takes practice to build these gifts and to work with them, but it shouldn't be difficult. You know, it's something that comes naturally as you grow, as you learn, and it comes in its own time, and you can't really force it. The truth is, most of us don't really benefit from these types of exercises. 5, psychic energy has gone by so many different names, and different cultures identify it differently. Magic, chi, energy, spirit, divinity, intuition, power. It's all just the same thing. The only difference is how we connect to it. It can be Kundalini yoga, chakras, meditation, magical practice, doing a rain dance, prayer, healing, manifestation, and more and more and more. There are so many different ways to connect to this energy. Over time, so many different cultures and communities have coined their own way of connecting to this energy. We have many different tools known as divination techniques that can help us interpret the energy and help us understand it, channel it into a way that we can actually communicate with it and really make sense of it. For example, some of the most popular methods are tarot cards, very well known, palmistry, runes, crystal ball gazing, and so many more. There are so many different types of divination tools and techniques that you can use to understand this magical, powerful energy around us. But a huge mistake many of us make is that we believe that it's the tool that is powerful. A tarot deck is just a deck of cards, and runes are just a few pieces of a flat material with engraved symbols on them that have supposed meaning. And the crystal ball is actually just a round piece of pure crystal. It is the conduit between you and that energy. It is actually not anything more than that. So we associate all these things. We think that these cards give us power, or crystals give us power, you know, when they're charged. But the truth is, they are just conduits. They are just tools. People are so spooked out by Ouija boards. I think Hasbro sells Ouija boards as a board game, yet we're so freaked out by them. But an Ouija board is just a flat board. It can be cardboard, it can be wood with numbers and symbols on top of it. That's it. What gives the Ouija board its power is that it's a tool that is used to connect to the energy on the other side of it, right? So same goes for tarot cards, same goes for runes, same goes for any single type of divination method that you want. So it's not the Ouija board that is powerful, it's the fact that you can use it to communicate through. And it's a very efficient way for energy to communicate. If you ask me, I mean, it has everything it needs. It has letters, you know, it has numbers, it has a direct access. It's basically like giving someone a keyboard and just saying, here, type out the answer for me, you know? I don't necessarily like Ouija boards, but I do recognize the fact that they are just pieces of, they're just a board that spirit or energy is just traveling through. And that it's not actually the board that is haunted or that is creepy or that is powerful or special. And so here's the truth. You can read anything. I have a psychic colleague who uses Hershey's chocolate bars crumpled up and reads symbols out of them. Like, that's insane. You can read anything. You can look up at the ceiling and see any little cracks in the ceiling and read that if you want to. If you spill some wine at dinner tomorrow, maybe look at the shapes that it forms. That's some oinomancy right there. There are so many different ways to read things. Look at your pet. Your pet is walking divination. The determining factor of what method to use is really about us. It's about whether we want to use a certain method or not, and whether we find it to work for us. Psychic energy is all around us. We don't control it, and we don't use cards, we don't use runes, we don't use anything to control it. We just connect to it through these items, and we use them as a way to communicate to it back and forth and channel it. Some things work better for different people, some methods. Some things work more clearly. I'll hear things more clearly through one method than through another. And so it's really about what you're comfortable with and how you feel, and that is why certain decks might stand out to you more. But that really has nothing to do with a deck being more powerful. It's just your connection to it is more powerful. Number 6, stop villainizing your ego. There is this new age trend going around where we villainize our ego. If you're part of the spiritual community at all, you've probably heard of the term the ego or the ego mind. And a lot of spiritual gurus tell you it's bad, that there's just a lot of fear coming from it, that it's better if you can just kind of get rid of it altogether. Kitty, are you being my ego mind? Do I need to get rid of you? Your ego is not the bad guy. Your mind isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad guy. And there's a problem nowadays where we tend to overlook critical thinking because we villainize that so much. We think, oh, well, you're just in your head. I think it's important to find a balance. And I think that this idea of going egoless or without ego is very egotistical in itself. And the people who say stuff like that, who say that they don't have an ego, usually are doing it from a place of having an ego. And so it's very kind of warped and messed up. And there's this strong idea that we need to just like detach from it. I do think that it's important to be able to look at our thoughts and to observe our thought patterns and really work on ourselves and find a way to not let what goes on in our head actually impact our reality. And I think that there is definitely a plus to being more self-aware and meditating and learning to function alongside your thoughts and learn to recognize your thinking and stuff. But I just don't think getting rid of it is important. Doubt can be a psychic's worst nightmare, for sure. And definitely getting in your head is bad. And obviously you need to learn to listen to your intuition. But mindset can also really be helpful, and critical thinking can also be helpful, believe it or not, during a psychic reading. It can actually be very grounding in a sense, especially when you're trying to completely relate to somebody else who you are reading. It's important to have an ego present. All right, number 7, own the title. Identify with it. Become it. You are a psychic. Embrace it. This is one of the biggest steps out there, because to be a psychic everyone's psychic, you know, but you really need to be able to embrace it. You need to be able to say, I am a psychic. I am a psychic reader. And you need to know that what you say is truth. Because the truth is, that's the difference. That's what stands between everyone else out there. Everyone has your gift. Are they as tuned into it? Do they know how to formulate it? Do they know how to use it? A big difference for them is that you know you're a psychic, you embrace it, you own it, you live by it. It is you. You see this with artists all the time. Like art is not supposed to be one of those really profitable, stable careers, right? I mean, it can be, it certainly can be, and that's the dream for a lot of artists. A big problem is that they don't consider themselves artists. And so they don't actually manifest what they want to do because they end up saying, nah, I'm not an artist, or I make good art, but am I really an artist? They don't own up to the fact that they are artists. You see this a lot with writers and authors. I know some really great writer friends, and it wasn't until they embraced the word author that books actually started to sell for them. And I think it's part of that acceptance of yourself and really owning your gift, owning who you are. And it's very, very similar for psychics. If you want the truth to come to you, if you want guidance and answers, then you are going to have to be a certain person. You know, you have to be certain. You have to be truthful and speak. And the more you can just own it and say, I am psychic, the more powerful you will be. There's this idea that you manifest who you are. You manifest how you act. And the more you act like you're the psychic you are, the more you own the fact that you are a psychic, the more everything will manifest around that. Health does impact your psychic readings. Yes, if you're sleep deprived, then your reading's gonna suck. If you are hungover, then your reading's gonna suck. If you're super high, your reading is gonna suck. If you're super hungry and hangry, then you are gonna sound like a bitch when you are giving a reading. I have given so many hangry readings, and that is not good for business, trust me. How you treat yourself does impact your readings, and it impacts the quality of your readings. However, I don't want you to think that if you're having an unhealthy day, you can't be a psychic. When I first started my business, I was really not healthy. I wasn't a healthy person. While I did try not to drink right around the time of my important readings, you know, and my clients, I would try to drink every 2 days after or before each reading that I had scheduled. I still was eating junk food. I was up late. I was eating a lot of 7-Eleven, and I still managed to give really good readings and work a business. When I ate healthier and when I was kinder to my body and I got enough exercise and I did the things that I was supposed to do for me, I felt 10 times better, and I felt like I could give more energy and do better at readings. I felt more clear-minded. But I want to make it clear that you don't have to be like this beacon of good health to be a psychic reader, because there are a lot of gurus out there, like health gurus, that are mixing this up. This idea that you need to be super, super, super clean and pure and spiritual so that you can receive, psychic information. And I just think that's bullshit. I am a part of this healing program, and I was watching this girl that I watch, that I have been following on YouTube, talk about psychic powers. And I have really enjoyed a lot of her content in the past because it was really helpful for me health-wise. I might talk about it some other time, but I listened to her talk about how you had to be this really healthy person, and then psychic downloads would just come or something, or you would awaken and be more psychic that way. And I just was like, I've been psychic my whole life. I'm watching this girl talk. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I've been psychic my entire life. I don't need to eat like vegetables 24/7 to be a psychic. It just didn't make any sense. So, well, I agree it's good to, you know, treat your body with kindness and to be very connected with yourself. I just don't think you need to be extremely pure and clean and a vessel for love and light in order to be a psychic. Number 9, plant medicine journeys don't make you psychic. I'm so tired of people saying, oh my gosh, I did this ayahuasca thing with my friends. We went to this camp and we sat around a bonfire and, you know, we did ayahuasca, and I went on this spirit plant medicine journey and I am now a true psychic. It's like, really? You don't need to take magic mushrooms and go on some trip to be initiated into the psychic industry, okay? Like, I'm sure some of those were very powerful moments for you. Maybe they were very revealing. I personally don't do a lot of plant medicine, but I can tell you right here and now that you don't need to do it in order to be psychic. I do, however, think that plant medicine can be a very potent and powerful way to access certain things that maybe you have trouble accessing. But I definitely don't think they're the answer to everything. And I'm really tired of people going on plant medicine journeys and making that the equivalent of some kind of psychic power trip. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope these were helpful for you. Sorry if some of them were a little controversial, but hopefully this provided you with some interesting information if you're struggling to develop your psychic intuition, your psychic abilities. Please let me know what has worked for you in the comment section below. Do you have any stories you would like to share with me? And yeah, subscribe to my channel. Bye.